Hello everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of Study IQ IAS in English. My name is Bhavar Singh Surya, MX India 115th course and qualified civil services in 2012, and I welcome you on the platform. Now in this session we'll be talking about the push that government has provided for the great ethanol. Right now when it comes to the complete session, we'll be talking about the biofuel revolution that we have seen in India. Along with this, we'll be talking about the engine compatibility and the historic. Right now, what the government has done is the excise duty exemption that had been provided for the E22 to E30 fuel that are there. Now, over here, it is very important to see the complete timeline. Now when it comes to the complete, revolution of the biofuel in India. So it was in 2014 where the India's average blending level, it stood at just 1.53%. Now you can imagine that it was in 2014 and there was high import dependence as well as regulatory barriers that were there. Now when it comes to 2022, so over here we have achieved 10% of the blending target early in November 2022, and over here the major factor was the structural policy scaling which had taken the route. Then comes 2024 where E20 was launched and it was successfully scaled. The level that we have achieved in 2022, over here it was scaled and we achieved 20% blending or the target ahead of the schedule, and that has set a record global pace as well. And now when it comes to 2026, we are talking about E30, and here what had happened was that there was abolition of the excise duties on E22 to E30 fuel or the blends in June 2026 that have opened up the fuel boundaries beyond the E20. Now, the major factor for this excise duty exemption is about the procurement price, because the ethanol procurement price is greater as compared to the gasoline, and that is why the central government wants that both the prices, they should be at the level where the oil marketing companies, they can procure the ethanol as well for the blending purposes. Now over here, what is actually ethanol blending? Now when it comes to ethanol, it is basically anhydrous and high purity ethyl alcohol. Now this is represented by the chemical formula C2H5OH. Now what happens in the ethyl blending is, or the ethanol blending, over here there is crop which is then fermented. After the fermentation there is purification and the ethanol is taken as the product. Now, over here, this ethanol is mixed with the gasoline, and later on, this is transported to the fuel station where it enters into the vehicles which are there. Now, over here, it is very important to note that it has lower energy density. Now, what is meant by lower energy density? That it burns more as compared to gasoline. If you have the same 1 liter of the petrol, all right, or gasoline, and you are traveling, like suppose 1 kilometer. So for traveling the same distance, you will require more than 1 liter of the ethanol that is there. So it is lower energy density that it has, and along with this, it has a higher octane number. Now, what is a higher octane number? It is basically which allows the engines to run at or with the high compression, as well as it is more advanced timing without any kind of knocking as well. So over here, when it comes to the ethanol, you have to remember both of these things. It is very important because the UPSC generally tests on the chemical properties as well. Now, it is very crucial that the ethanol is a highly hygroscopic as well. Now, why I'm talking about highly hygroscopic? Because this is one of the major hindrance when it comes to the ethanol blending. That is, it is highly hygroscopic, and if it absorbs the water or the water vapor that is present in the atmosphere, so what will happen? So because of this, it will absorb the water and there will be the phase separation that will be done, where the ethanol, it will sink down towards the bottom of the fuel tank that you have. And that is very, very crucial when it comes to the ethanol blending as well. Right now, when it comes to ethanol blending, so we have gasoline blends which can be used in the regular cars. And we have E5 where we have maximum 5% of the ethanol that is blended. Then there is E10, there is E15 and E25. All these numbers, 5, 10, 15 or 25, they represent the maximum amount of the anhydrous ethanol that could be there in the gasoline mix. And then comes the E85 and E100 as well. Now, when it comes to E85, over here there is maximum of 85% anhydrous ethanol, and this is the standard that is being used in USA, in Brazil. Brazil is the it is the global leader when it comes to E85, and also the Brazilian, they are using the hydrous ethanol, which contains nearly about on average 5.3 volume by percentage of water. Now, over here, when it comes to these two different fuels, so for these, we need to have upgraded engine technology, and these engines, they are called as flex fuel vehicles, or FFV, which uses the E85 and E100 of the ethanol. Now, over here, it is very important that when it comes to the blending, so E22 and E25, they consist of nearly about 78 to 75% of the petrol or the gasoline, with 22 to 25% of ethanol. Now, this operates as the immediate or intermediate bridge between the standard that is above the standard of E20, and it is strictly regulated under the newly notified BIS standard, that is IS 19850 standards. Then comes E27 fuel. Now, this is designed for the optimized middle tier compression engines which are there. Now, over here, it increases the thermal utilization of the molasses and the crop residue while reducing the tailpipe greenhouse gas emission that happens from the vehicle. Then comes the E30 fuel blend. Now, over here, it contains 70% pure gasoline or petrol with 30% of the ethanol, and the current threshold for the standard spark ignition passenger engines before the transitioning into the dedicated flex fuel models is E30 fuel. Now, over here, you can see that how the ethanol is blended. So, it is basically the feed stock that is there. So, there is sugarcane or the damaged corn or the rice or the maize, that is the source which is directly sourced from the domestic farm markets. Then there is the biorefining, where fermentation happens of the starch and the sugars that are present in these raw material, and there is distillation and dehydration to achieve 99.9% or 99.6% anhydrous ethanol. Then there is oil marketing companies that do the blending, where these blend the ethanol into the petrol at high capacity regional fuel depots which are there, and then this is used as the clean or the cleaner burning fuel into the vehicles which are there. Now, when it comes to the tax waiver, you can see that the Ministry of Finance had notified that there will be complete nil rate or zero rate of the central excise duty. There will be no road or the infrastructure cess, and even the concessions on the agriculture, infrastructure and development cess on E22, on E25, E27 and E30 blends. Now, this is again important because I told you that this is where the procurement price comes into the role play. The ethanol had more procurement price, and by giving away or by by notifying that there will be no central excise tax that will be levied upon the ethanol, now the prices will be lowered, where the oil marketing companies, they can procure more of the ethanol. Now, this is very important because when it comes to the ethanol blending, so over here you must understand that petroleum and minerals, it falls under the union list. At the same time, when it comes to the intoxicating liquors and the industrial alcohol, that triggers or it will trigger the concurrent or the state disputes under Article 246. Also, when it comes to the direct protection, that is against the global crude price shock, so it is very important that we must move ahead with the ethanol blending, and it supports the credit rating by keeping the current account deficit even under the control. Also, when it comes to the environmental concern, so it contributes directly to the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 7, that pertains to clean energy, SDG 13, that pertains to climate action and cuts the carbon particulate matter, specifically when it comes to PM 2.5. Also, it is very important because this mitigates the sugarcane payment backlogs which are by the sugar mills which are there and controlled by the government. So over here, the channels wealth from the urban fuel consumers that will go directly to the sugarcane farmers or the agriculture laborers which are there, and they are cultivating the sugarcane and the other agriculture products like, for example, corn and the rice as well. Now, over here, it is very important that this has the bottleneck as well, because when it comes to using sugarcane or corn or maize or even the rice for the production of the biofuel, so it is about, diverting the arable land that we have from the food crops to the energy crops that risk the food security as well. Now, using the grains, that is the damaged or the fresh ones as well for the ethanol during the deficit monsoon season, it can trigger the local retail food inflation also. Now, there is also the water footprint and the material stress, because when it comes to sugarcane, it is highly water intensive, crop. And ultimately that exhaust, or it will exhaust the water tables in the drought prone regions like, for example, Marathwada. So when it comes to chemically, ethanol is hygroscopic. It will absorb moisture from the air, and it will also make it highly corrosive for the non-adapted engines as well. So these are some of the concerns or the challenges which are about the ethanol blending that we have. Now, there are certain policies and the initiatives that had been taken by the government of India. The first one is about the national policy on biofuel that was notified in 2018. This is the foundational policy that we have for the transition or for the broadened feedstock scope, classified biofuels into the basic and the advanced to systematically organize the complete support. Then it comes the roadmap for the ethanol blending that is for 2020 to 2025. This is a structural blueprint that was released by Niti Aayog. And over here, it is about the target metrics, the infrastructure readiness, and even the interstate tax rationalization. And there is BIS fuel standards that had been released, and it is IS 19850, which have notified the technical parameters for the fuel, that is E22 to E30 fuels, and it will ensure that there is consistency when it comes to the ethanol blended fuels across India as well. Now, over here, it is very important that when it comes to the global biofuel model, so you can see about Brazil. So what had been in Brazil, so it had powered the flex fuel engines in 2003 itself. Now, today you will see that the consumer, they switch seamlessly between the E100, that is the pure ethanol, and gasoline, depending upon the daily pump pricing that is there in Brazil. Now, we have E85 integration that had been done in India as well after following the Brazil step, and we have recently launched the E85 fuel that is at 20 rupees per litre with discount to the normal petrol for the flex fuel vehicles. Now, the plans are underway to expand the infrastructure to nearly about 5,000 outlets by December 2027 when it comes to the flex fuel or E85. So over here, you can compare the things that are there in India or Brazil and USA as well. So in India, the primary feedstock that we are using is sugarcane molasses along with damaged rice, maize, and the fruit grains which are broken. Now in Brazil, it is the sugarcane stalk and corn starch that is majorly used. And there they have the highly developed crop cycles which are being used for production of the raw materials. In USA, there is corn starch that is highly subsidized, massive agriculture crop which is being used as a raw material for the production of the biofuels. Now, the standard blend in India is E20, that is standardized, and we are transitioning up to E30 through the tax reliefs. In Brazil, there is mandatory 27% of the blending that is there, and there is up to E100 flex fuel that is there in Brazil. In US, there is the standard of E10, then E15 up to E85, that is the flex fuel that is available. Then comes the engine readiness. So we have E20 material compliant and flex fuel emerging in the metros that we can see in India. Also, when it comes to Brazil, there are 100% flex fuel vehicles that dominate the passenger fleet in Brazil, and there are highly compliant flex fuel fleets and heavy commercial systems which exist in USA as well. Now over here, this has a very important impact when it comes to the current account deficit, because when it comes to the foreign reserve savings, so you can see that during the 10% target phase, the saving was of 9,500 crore rupees. And when it comes to 2022, it rose to 24,300 crore rupees. And in 2024, after the early success of E20, the saving was to the tune of 48,500 crore rupees. Now over here, there are the projection that with E30, there will be total savings that will be able to do of more than 84,000 crore rupees in the foreign reserves, or the foreign, the amount that we spend while importing the fuel or the crude oil into India. So that is why it is also important for the economic stability as well. Now, when it comes to your prelims, you must understand that there are different, the categories when it comes to the biofuel. So we have the first generation biofuel which use the edible food sources, majorly soya bean, sugarcane, rice, or the maize. And over here, the advantage is that these biofuels, they are simple to process, cost efficient, well established, and there is no intensive parameters or pre-treatments that is needed. But over here, the disadvantage is about the food versus fuel conflict, and even the high land use and high fresh water use for growing the sugarcane like high water intensive crops. Then there is second generation or 2G biofuel, which uses the organic waste or the agriculture residue and even the wood as well. So basically it is the biomass and other waste that are included, including the industrial waste for production of the 2G or second generation biofuel. Over here, there is a waste stream or the circular economy. That is the advantage of the second generation. Along with that, it bypasses the food versus fuel conflict. But there is limited amount of the biomass, that is the waste biomass that we are talking about. And there are more extensive pre-treatment that is required for generating the biofuel using the waste biomass. Then comes the third generation biofuels, which are using the carbon dioxide or the light energy. There is no direct capture of the carbon dioxide, and there is no land use change, reduced freshwater usage as well for the third generation, and they bypasses the food versus fuel conflict as well. Now over here, there is the higher downstream cost when it comes to the third generation biofuels. Then comes the fourth generation biofuels, where there is diverse, raw material that is utilized for the fourth generation of the biofuels, where there are higher yields, increased efficiency because of the genetic engineering, where we have the microbes as well as the viruses which are utilized for generation of the biofuel, and often includes the direct use of the carbon dioxide and syngas as well. Over here, there are higher regulation due to the safety issues, and that is the major disadvantage when it comes to the 4G of the biofuel or fourth generation of the biofuel as well. Now that would be all in this video, but at the same time, let me tell you that if you are preparing for the civil services 2027, 28 or 29, then you can enroll into the GS Foundation batches which are available on our platform. That is P2I batch, where we prepare you right from your preparation to your entry into LABSNA. Now these batches are basically modeled upon the SMART architecture, where you get the structured classes, you get the mentorship, the assessment, the revision as well as test. Now for enrolling into this, right now we are giving you the 50% discount, which is only for a limited period, and ultimately you can use the code that is BRS Live for this discount that you will get. That is 50% discount, and also you can call. If there is any problem, you can call us on the number that is 764000 3000 or 76400 3000. So that would be all in this session. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me over here on the platform of Study IQ IS. I will see you in the next, but till then, take care of yourself. Also, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel so that you do not miss any of the updates. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind.